Well, viewers, let us rejoice, for we are back. And if you don't get why I said it that way, go listen to the Australian National Anthem. This is a very Australian crossover, where I, Patch, play Australia and meet a bunch of very strange fellows in Civs 5, and Butlee listens and talks along.
This is what real Australians think the rest of the world is like. Strange mixture of foreign races.
What do you mean? This is what other people think Australia is like. Australia surrounded by deadly animals.
That was the joke I was going for. It was a little bit abstract, I get it.
Sorry, sometimes I don't get your dry humor.
That's alright, it's a quiet taste.
So, I don't know what to say. I mean, last time stuff happened and I explored, and there's the first example of strange people. That's what the British look like to us. Ringo Starr, but as a fat man.
Ringo Starr with... No, I'm not going to say anything more. I'm not going to pass judgment on the Beatles.
What judgment could you even pass on the Beatles? They're great.
I was going to say, like, 90% less drugs and more hamburgers.
Okay.
Yeah. You prompted me. I said I shouldn't go there. You still wanted to know.
So, this one's a little bit slower. Like, I think I take my time a little bit with things.
I'm sort of taking Civ seriously.
No,
like how Simba has the most food, and the whole plot line to his story is that they don't have enough food.
He's got the most happiness.
Oh, that's happiness.
Yeah, he just happens to have the food symbol.
Oh, okay.
So I think I'm turning into a little bit of a jerk by the end of this episode, and you'll see what I mean. But
we just started now.
Ooh.
And to be honest, everyone likes Australia, right?
Yeah.
We're like, everyone's like, Australia is the perfect place, and everyone in Australia is like, God damn it.
I was dancing to the music.
It's like carnival music.
Yeah. Swing. I don't know how this happened. I was so confused. I must have clicked on something. I tried to figure it out and I gave in. But yeah, so as we progress, the game's actually starting to look a bit hairy by this point. I know our research looks really good, but I don't know, I feel like we're behind all the time.
Considering we're supposed to be the colonizing kind of having all cities and stuff like that, we haven't really advanced on that front.
Oh, the AI is crazy about cities. They build so many. And I just sort of take it easy. This is actually...
We want to get advantages based on our cities, right? Like number of cities and where they are.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we get +1 tourism for a city, and then +2 if it has an outgoing trade route. Or no, another +1, sorry, if we get an outgoing trade route.
We really need to be expanding, but we haven't really got to that. It's hard when the AI get like bonuses to help them early on, so...
Well, you only need to expand for Australia as much as you get naval trade routes, because that's where you get your extra tourism. And tourism isn't like an early game victory, it's definitely something I'm banking for way later on.
I can't believe you would side with those damn ponies.
I sided with every freak in this place.
Except them rats, because they declared war on us.
Hey, I sided with them until they declared war on us.
They're deceitful, who would have thought?
Anyway, this area looks pretty good to me. I mean, I know it's all mountains, but I saw 2 fish.
Hey, desert folklore and an observatory. Yay.
That was what I was thinking, is the desert folklore would just be plenty.
Just gotta get a settler there somehow, because there's so many mountains in the way.
Yeah, I actually settled in the wrong spot. Eventually.
Whoa!
Oh yeah, that's right. So
that's cool. Right down to the quote.
Yeah. His nation's actually pretty interesting if you look at it.
If he, like, declined all your treaties.
So he's the Verticon headquarters, and he's a
huge.
Catholic. But he's got the pyramids.
Wow. So
what's cool about his nation is they've got, they get science buildings later on for spaceship stuff. That's how they're meant to win the game. I think they even get replacement sharks.
It still makes me laugh, that sound clip.
Told you, man, you can't trust him.
attack.
Oh, hi, Vancouver. I was really torn up about this.
Problem is how far away it is.
Yeah.
So many turns before it's relevant to the worker being back. But having another work is always good. Whoa.
Yeah, I know. My poor boat. Simba's still hoarding the wonders. I think you get to see how many wonders he's hoarded this game. And it's disgusting.
He's playing the Australian national anthem right now, isn't it?
Yeah, that's all the songs are. That was that, the swing one before was, still the national anthem, I think. I think they're all the national anthem. Even the war song.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
That's why I said the music makes me patriotic in, like, the first video. Or the second, I can't remember.
It's not
We did that like a month ago.
Swagman enough.
Oh, maybe that's what they play. I don't know.
It'd be hard to imagine a swing version of that.
No, this is Waltzing Matilda. That's not our national anthem.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Well, there you go.
What country are you from?
I was subconsciously thinking about this song.
We'll give you a pass. Just this once.
At least it's not the swing variety of this song.
I was trying to spread my religion at this point in the game. I noticed that there's a sort of a religious thing spreading down through... Who is it? The Undertale monsters. They've got another religion that's actually Simba's religion, and that bothered me, so I set out to start converting them.
Your religion's fairly strong, I reckon.
Yeah, I don't think we've got
21's
like a
alright.
strong religion, it's just religion in general. A lot of this one is just sort of doing stuff.
Trying to settle.
Yeah, I would say not a lot happens. I mean, I go
Yeah,
rationalism here. Yeah, because rationalism's
It's worth
broken.
it just because of the 10%
Yeah.
bonus.
Rationalism's disgustingly strong.
You should just get it early, like get that
Yeah.
one thing early, even if you don't go into the rest of them yet.
Oh, you should go at least 2 points in it, because so I was on like 104 research, or maybe like 110 or something, and then I went to 130. Now the turns ticked over. I'm 144,
Yep.
and it's like watch how much I get to by the end, just because of these ridiculous. I mean, admittedly, like I'm still building unis and stuff, but wait to see how big my research gets by the end of this. Just mostly from rationalism.
Oh, what song do you make?
It's not an Australian song. Don't worry about that.
Oh,
I actually need to look this up. It sounds quite good.
cool. I don't know. Don't know what it is. Me, my uncultural hide
Yeah,
does not know what this is.
I'm gonna look that one up later.
God, I just look at this game and I'm reminded what conceptually Civ 6 sounded like when we started hearing about like districts and having to build so which city was it? Melbourne? Yeah, it must have been Melbourne. You moved a worker next to the mountain and it was an empty tile.
Yeah,
And we know that excuse me, in this one you build there's the war that he told us about.
yeah, we're not gonna get in
this
on
one, we know that, say, observatories are good next to mountains, and so it's like when you're told that you have to use certain tiles for certain buildings now, not just build everything in your capital. I'm like, I can imagine that builder building an observatory next to that mountain on that individual tile,
that. Yeah,
and you're like, that's cool, that's what I want. Instead you're going to build just like the 10th farm in Melbourne.
yeah.
And you're like, yeah, that's cool. And then in reality, it doesn't really work out like that. You just build the district there.
Yeah,
And to be honest, you don't even build the district there unless you have because the science district specifically, because you need other districts nearby, not just mountains. You might not even build it there. You know what I mean? You end up just doing exactly the same thing.
basically, yeah. You don't
Just
do a lot of
just
variation.
so underwhelmed by Civ 6. seems to have the right idea but fail in the execution.
I actually very
And-
badly manage my tech here, by the way.
To the point where it doesn't even like. Oh, you steal it, do it.
Nah, I don't want to piss off
but he's
Mr. Evil.
evil.
He's a cool guy. He's
See,
hip.
like, you're just
He's with
building
it.
more farms for no reason other than you have workers. And it's just.
Well, I mean, I am building them to get more food, but I agree.
But you're not
it's not-
working that many tiles. So.
Yeah, it's not like I'm doing it because I need that thing. It's not I'm filling a need. It's not I'm trying to progress. It's just I'm just dumping it. Just do it.
It would be a lot cooler if you were building, like, say, observatories or something like that. Like you have in science. Okay, I've got this unique city that's next to a thing.
Yeah.
I've got a tile that's empty that's next to the mountains. Let's build a mountain. But it doesn't really do that.
Censor it. I was depicting the French Revolution, I believe.
Cool. At the forefront of the French Revolution was a woman.
Yeah, well, the forefront of the French Revolution was peasants, so...
Ah, okay. Now that sounds a lot more derogatory and sexist. Quick, settle on the island next to the sheep.
Do you know what happened in the French Revolution?
I have no idea. I'm afraid my history is very, very poor.
So the peasants, after failing a bunch of revolutions and starving a lot, decided we're going to do this revolution thing for real. So they all gathered up and they marched on, I think, the capital or some large place. And then out came the army to stop them. And then the army was ordered to fire on the peasants, and the army went, nah, we're going to help them. And that's basically the revolution in a nutshell. France was,
cool.
you know... And then the aristocrats got eaten. I mean, not eaten. They got captured and their heads were cut off. And that was the death of the French monarchy, I believe. Not like the death of it literally, I mean metaphorically.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough.
So, yeah,
You really
history.
need to do ironworking to open up that whole part of the tree.
I know. I was looking at it now. I'm like, oh, god damn it.
You can't do any of those things. You just
Yeah.
need to dig through some of your smaller ones.
I was also really looking
Will
at
you
crossbows.
accept my friendship?
Oh, no. Do not trust them. I don't even know where they are, I forget. They're on the other side of the continent. Or the
Yeah,
other continent if you're not joined, I can't remember.
this is actually kind of interesting, this game, this video, because we'll actually get to explore the outer edge of our continent. And it's actually, like, we've explored most of, I don't know if it's the world, but we've explored most of our part of the world. And it's sort of cool, the layout. I found this map to be really kind of, like, not all the maps are this unique, you know? A lot of them are just like a blob.
From what I've seen, Civ 5, I mean, there's so many more map types now. But it definitely has better maps than Civ 6 as well. Civ 6, some of the maps are just... Like, how often have we played games where you just turn it off because you get such an awful start?
Oh yeah, that's
Like,
the
here you
worst
generally
thing.
get decent stuff. And it's not like you don't want it handed to you on a platter, but
No.
it's things like, okay, I'm surrounded by a whole crop of mountains and tundra. I literally can't expand. Or the AI is like similarly bottlenecked, so what they do is they rush straight down to you and settle next to your capital, and it's like, okay, well now we're stuffed again.
Although sometimes this also causes a free win. Like the AI tries to settle somewhere that you settle, and the AI just breaks and doesn't know what to do.
Yep. But that's, like, I mean, like, Civ 6 is just so
Yeah.
poor like that now. I like, it's still got fun things, but it has so many bad things, and I really struggle to enjoy that game.
I really think 1 unit per turn is just the worst thing. 1 unit per tile, sorry. I always say per turn. I don't know why.
Well, later on you can do other things, right? Yeah, you kind of stuffed up getting whatever you just
Oh
got.
yeah.
You needed to open up one of your bigger techs.
Yeah. I sort of left myself in a small hole.
Oh well. We learned a lesson today.
Yeah.
I'd be giving him open borders. He's a war.
Yeah.
He's gonna run his troops through and fight them trains.
Cows versus trains.
Yeah.
We've got another PM. Who do you think it'll be?
Paul Keating. You're gonna go who? Malcolm Fraser.
Hey, I know some of these names. Just because I don't know what they did.
Cool, it's actually relevant to when he was there and what he did.
Yeah. It's interesting, that's for sure.
That's a good quote.
Yeah. Definitely represents Australia in many ways.
Some of it is sort of cultural, and some of it is like a lot of other countries wouldn't want to associate us, even with the Commonwealth, because of how we became to exist. Still convicts in the lower class.
I wonder though, how many convicts? How many did they actually bring over? Because you can't start a colony with like 10,000. Like maybe you can start a city or, you know, a single colony with 10,000, but can you really make the full sprawling Australia with that?
I think that's very well documented. I mean, I didn't remember, but it's not like all convicts. They brought like proper English families and troops and stuff as well.
That's what I mean.
Like it was probably about half and half. I don't know. It'd be pretty well documented. The exact numbers in the charter of who came over and stuff.
So if you're an expert on Australian colonization,
or if you're in high school and you just did that semester, because that's where my knowledge comes from.
Oh, gross.
You probably remember more than I do about it already.
Then like and subscribe and leave a comment in the episode.
Teach us to be more Australian.
What are you talking about? Not knowing makes us more Australian.
Yeah, we're just true to the culture.
How many...
I had a...
Wow.
Okay.
Oh man, I should have done the ones down below. Would have got way more.
Yep.
What was I thinking? I wasn't paying much attention. I don't think a lot of nations know their history, like the general public. It's something that sort of doesn't get taught. I think I spent more time in school looking at the world wars than I spent looking at Australian history. If you know what I mean.
I definitely think school was... It's one of my little bugbears, actually, because... I mean, and some of this is personal preference. I really enjoyed history in the sense of... And I'm just checking time. No, we got time.
Oh, we've got heaps of time.
This is rant territory. Influential? What?
Yeah, I was really baffled by that. Thomas the Tank Engine is winning the culture victory currently.
He already has influence on someone. You need to switch to him on the select player thing to have a look at what that means. So we're looking at your influence on everyone.
I knew that, but I was just sort of like, how do I check his? And then I went, oh well, fuck it. I mean, screw it. Language patch, language.
PG it, damn it.
So kids, if your parents were around.
What history's like these days, but in Australia,
I should have settled right there. I move over one space and settle. Also, I just wanted to say that I think history is exactly the same as it's always been, but it's how we tell it that's gotten different.
That's definitely it's funny because I don't know if you meant to, but it's like a subtle jab at religion. Moving along. What?
We don't do
the whole
this.
Point of, I watched the Da Vinci Code was on TV the other night, and I caught glimpses of it. I was like, yes, the religious commentary. Anyway,
I think what happened here was Shurima went to war with Sir Topham Hatt. So
joined the Cow clan.
So, and I don't think Shurima's symbol works. So,
so it kind of stuffed up.
Also, all the city-state symbols are broken.
So history.
Yeah, history. Sorry.
We learn not weird, but I don't know what they would teach these days, but I learned, like you said, the wars. Actually learned a lot about World War One and not so much about World War Two, which is weird because I thought World War Two was of greater threat to Australia specifically.
Yeah, and World War One was the one with Gallipoli, though.
That's true. We're very. You don't want to make light of this because it's war, and Gallipoli was a big deal, and it's kind of it's good that it's a sad thing, but we try and take the positive from it. I'm not going to take that away, but the other thing is like it's Australia's pride and joy when maybe we're a little bit too positive about it.
The thing is, we're not talking down on it in the sense of Gallipoli. We're very respectful of that. What we're talking down on is the way the education system portrays it. And because if you don't know, Gallipoli was Australia landed in the wrong place at the wrong time, got shot to bits, dug in trenches for a long time, and then they bailed out. And that was off the coast of Turkey somewhere. And that was basically the entirety of Gallipoli. But what was important about it was Australia was there, and it was probably... Oh, here we go. Look at my tech now. I'm on 209.
Yeah.
And what was important to Australia is it was where Australia contributed. And it did have an impact on the war. I don't know how significant, but it was, you know... It's sort of... It wasn't a victory. It wasn't this proud moment for Australia. It was just this moment where we sort of showed our chops, so to speak. And that's why it gets taught a lot. But in the scheme of things, it's not historically significant for Australia, except in the sense that it showed when we first really put in a war.
It's representative of the point I was going to make about like all of history and how it's taught in Australia. There's this fine line. See, if you look at the world, right? So the modern world as it is, with all its countries and where certain countries are and the wealth of countries, and you know, you can argue about the British Empire being kind of an evil empire in the scheme of things and whatever, but how the world came to be, like, that's a big deal. So that's Portugal and Spain starting to expand, that's England and France and Holland fighting over certain places, and then it's like the American Revolution, and you know, all these things, right? All these things shape the world, sort of I mean, especially the Western world that we're in, that we know about. I don't know all the Eastern history so much, but these are big things that shape the world we're in. Australia is basically like a footnote that
well,
doesn't impact any of that. And so there's a fine line between being sort of proud of everything we did, but at the same time, surely you need to teach people, like students at school, how the world came to be, not just how Australia came to be.
Well, you know what? Here's what I'm thinking, right? Here's what I can remember from my junior education, from primary school. I can remember that I was taught about Ned Kelly and bushrangers. I was taught about the Eureka Stockade. We talked primarily about World War I and the Gallipoli. And other than that, I think we only really talked about colonizing and Botany Bay, you know, and that sort of thing, and the early colonialists. And what this tells me is that Australia's history is more tracked in a sense of achievement, so to speak, of people and groups, rather than, or not even achievements per se, but things that they did that were notable, rather than actual things that shaped Australia. You could say the Eureka Stockade. Okay.
My thing is that you're learning things that are relevant to Australia, and that's fine. But it's like putting the cart before the horse, because if you're not learning enough about how the world came to be, learning about what Australia is and does is really like it's not insignificant, but you don't have the, what am I looking for, like the gravity of it.
Yeah.
Like, I did a whole semester or a term or whatever, a few months on sort of famous women in Australia, and that's nice. And honestly, it's probably a good thing to do, because you've got to learn about women's rights and how they didn't always have them, and you know, and to sort of where we are now. I get that some people can be like, oh, they still don't have them, and that's another discussion for another time. But we're on this progression where the optimal thing is 100% equality, and where we were was definitely not, and we're in the middle somewhere. And it's important to put that in the heads of kids. But then learning about the struggles of like famous women and equality in Australia, it's not as I don't understand the scope of it without understanding how other countries dealt with similar problems around the same time.
And the other thing worth saying is Australia's hardly the most progressive nation, and it's also hardly the most impactful on this topic. It was sort of like we focused on Australia because we're Australian. We didn't focus on Australia because there was something important to be taught. And likewise, they taught things that weren't specifically like the history of Australia. They taught certain events, but they didn't say the things that shaped Australia. Like the Eureka Stockade I brought up, that was a rebellion against the government to a degree over
Right.
gold mining, I think it was, over the gold rush era.
Yep.
And
But then there's other things. So you did say the Eureka Stockade, Ned Kelly, and Ned Kelly is a nice little folk story. Did you ever learn anything about the creation of the Commonwealth?
no,
That
but I
it's
just wanted
kind
to
of a
say,
thing, right?
yeah, I just wanted to say about this Eureka Stockade was that didn't succeed. They got crushed,
Yeah.
and the government marched on. Like, okay, that's
Well,
not.
it's like Ned Kelly didn't succeed either, really.
Yeah, it's
He's a
not.
folk hero.
This isn't Robin Hood. This isn't the French Revolution. You know, this isn't the Civil War. These are events that came and went, and were sort of dealt with, and it's. I don't think it's a bad thing to teach them. Just the amount of emphasis that was put on them compared to learning things that might have been more important, like,
Right.
you know, the foundation of the states and why there's states and territories, you know, why Canberra is the head of everything, you know, why the Commonwealth, why are we
I
still
didn't
under
learn
Britain
anything about things like
or tied to Britain.
the judicial system and things like that. I didn't learn any of those kind of things. And yeah, like why we have a prime minister, not a president. Like at the time I was going through, it was kind of more obvious. But now I think we're very associated with America and not as much with England. So
And definitely World War Two. World War Two is the big one that I really didn't feel I got taught about, because the way they described World War Two in school, this was, you know, primary education. This wasn't when I was a teenager, when I was a little kid. But they taught it like as sort of an end note to World War One. There went, you know, there were two world wars. Here was the first war. Here was the second war. The second war was the Nazis, and they talked primarily about the conflict in Europe, and then the bombs. And they said there was some stuff, you know, happening near Darwin, but I didn't realize until many years later that boats had been shot down and sunk off the north coast of Australia and even the west coast, I think. That they'd been fighting with the Japanese, like actual military engagements in Australian water, basically. And I didn't know this because the school didn't think it was important enough to tell me about events that could have genuinely... I mean, I guess it's a little bit hypocritical for me to say they didn't teach me about this, but they taught me about that. And both events could have been a big deal, but it's just sort of strange.
yeah, I just think they didn't quite get their priorities right. I mean, I
Yeah.
understand that you can't just tunnel vision on all the serious events, and you've got to
Sure.
take time to look at things like Ned Kelly because it is a folk hero and it's a good Aussie story to create that sort of sense of nationalism and pride of your country. But
Look, what's odd, again, is poetry. I remember studying like Banjo Patterson and that. I felt really happy when I did that, when I was looking up Banjo Patterson, but when I read the works, I didn't really understand it. I just did a little, you know, school report thing on it. And
poetry is definitely an art that I will never understand. It's all
yeah,
lost on me.
but it was sort of, you know, the art of storytelling, Australian storytelling. And I find that that sort of stuff feels like it would be more important to teach than certain other, like the Gold Rush. The Gold Rush, we spent a lot of time studying the Gold Rush in school compared to, you know,
Yep.
other famous things and people. And it feels like it would have been better to spend my time learning about Australian culture and how it's developed and things like that. I mean, I guess the
Well,
Gold Rush is a part of it. It's just,
See, I would almost go the other way to some degree too, and I've had like I'm obviously born in England, so
Oh yeah.
I mean I lived in Australia all my life, but my interest is I don't feel like completely Australian all the time, so I'm sort of almost the other way. I'm more interested in the greater world politics and less about Australia, and I've spoken to sort of Australian people, Australian parents, for example, and they're like, I'm kind of happy if my kid learns more about Australia specifically, but I just find that you got to give them that perspective. Like,
Yeah.
we spent like 5 minutes learning about, like, as I mentioned, the whole Portugal and Spain jumping on boats, and then England and France fighting, and how the Dutch held the the spice trade.
Yeah.
And then 5 more minutes talking about the sprawling British Empire and stuff like that. And then, like, then we just fast forward to the mid 1900s, and we're talking about Ned Kelly in Australia and things like that. And it's like, well, you kind of missed a bit. I actually don't know anything about, say, the American Revolution. And I get that you would say that, oh, well, yeah, but that's not really anything to do with Australia and it would take too long. But at the same time, America now is a big world player. You can't deny that. So it'd be interesting. And it's also relevant to, like, not the collapse of, but the way the British ended up. So two of the biggest world's players, I don't know anything about that. And so, well, surely we could have touched on that a little bit. I don't even know.
So one moment, we have a golden opportunity. Our good friend Ward just came home. He might say something to me, so you might be able to hear him for the first time.
Our good friend Wall Lemming.
Yeah, in the last few minutes. I also just wanted to say, one of the things I was never really taught at school, and this is actually quite a big deal and quite a serious moment, so I'm sorry if I'm ruining an otherwise goofy, fun hello thing. I was never taught that in Australia, every Aboriginal in Tasmania was killed to the last. They were butchered, and that seems like it would be quite significant in Australian history. I was... You know we're recording, right? Did you catch that, Dan?
Yeah, I didn't hear what he said. I just heard...
oh well. Okay. Well, hopefully someone else never hears what he said. So, yeah, that seems like a very significant part of Australians' history, where we actually did kind of genocide an entire people. I know there's a lot about the stolen generation and things, but we killed every living Aborigine on Tasmania. Most of them were killed, like, actually killed with guns and things, and then they just sort of died out eventually. And I didn't find this out until I read a book about it, completely unrelated to school, those horrible histories books. And it's sort of like, wow.
Excuse me.
Why don't our books cover that? Why weren't we taught about that?
Well, yeah, and so this is my point, is I'm not trying to say I have all the answers, but you can see quite clearly we've poked a few holes in the way that our education system chooses to tackle history. Whether they want to focus on Australian history, they don't seem to get the major points right. And if they want to focus on the wider world history to give us more perspective, well, they don't get that right either.
So I think this is actually where I stop. I hit next turn, and then that's
kind of winding down.
Our wind down, yeah. So I guess thank you for joining us. Hope this didn't get too real. I know we talked about... Oh yeah, and the Skaven have just settled north of us.
Yeah, sorry, settler running through.
So we
don't know what we're doing with this series, but we thought we would try and talk about Australian stuff that comes up while we're playing an Australian game. I don't know.
Or just talk about anything. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching. And I hope you guys join us again. Any last words, Butlee?
No, thanks for joining. Sorry for coughing through the stream.
All right. In that case, we will see you next time.